Hey Jay, how you doing?
Good.
Can you talk maybe a little bit about that battle for the third pair left spot beside Tyson Barrie? There seems to be Broberg, Neiman Lyon, and Samorkov, guys that you've all coached before, and what you see from them, and how much does 3 or 4 preseason games go into the decision compared to the bigger picture of what you've seen from in the past?
Yeah, I think it's a good battle for that position. We're going to continue to evaluate on a day-by-day basis.
What have you seen from Samorkov so far that you've liked this year in camp?
Yeah, I have a good understanding of Dimitri going back to his first year as a professional, and he's someone that has showed well here for the first few days.
Jay, Dylan Holloway playing alongside Draisaitl and Hyman, it appears, anyway. What kind of went into that decision?
Well, I think when you go through training camp, what happens is you want to make sure enough people get enough games, and you kind of game plan out what certain people might need. And so we've had a few players play a lot of games last week, so we're not just going to overplay anybody through the preseason. And with that being said, we want another look at Holloway today and see what he's got. And tonight he's going to line up with Leon and Hyman. You were right.
Can you share your plans with the goalies? Will they be splitting Campbell and Skinner, or is Campbell playing the full distance?
Campbell will play the full game tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Benson scored, was involved physically as he often tries to be. What have you seen in his sort of evolution of adopting, I don't know if pest is the right word, but he's eager to get out there and disrupt if he can?
Yeah, for me, what I've noticed about Tyler Benson's camp is that he wants to get noticed here. He really wants to get noticed. He's doing whatever it takes in order to get noticed. I saw him last game in Winnipeg, kind of when the team was finding its feet in that road game. He scored a great goal. He finished a check. He was involved in a scrum. I knew that Tyler Benson was in the building. And, that wasn't just a one-off thing. He's had a good camp thus far. Now he has to continue to build on it because the competition for lineup spots is fierce right now.
So that leads into my next question, because we've seen him in the NHL, but kind of up and down. I mean, how far away is he, or is there enough of that dimension where he can push guys aside right now?
Well, why not? I mean, he's here to compete and stake a claim. He's had a good camp. He has gotten his feet wet in the NHL last year, and he's got prior history with the coaching staff that have seen what he can do at the American League level. He should feel good about his camp to date, but we're in an everyday business. You got to bring it every day, and he's going to get a chance tonight to leave an impression.
Hey, Jay.
Hi.
With the Raptors here last night, Nick Nurse was here. I was just wondering if there was any interaction with him and just, maybe sharing notes and things like that. Do you kind of get a chance to talk to other coaches about, like coaches that play different leagues, not necessarily yours?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that. I can draw inspiration from, sometimes I'll watch those Hard Knocks shows and pull stuff from the way NFL coaches operate, or have some friendships with coaches in different sports. But yes, Nick Nurse, who I've been a big fan of, listened to a lot of his interviews, big fan of his personal journey to get to where he got to. He wanted to see the Oilers dressing room yesterday, and they brought him by the coach's office, and we could have sat there for hours and talked, but I knew he had to get going, and it was a real treat for our entire staff because he's obviously a top coach, but he seemed like a really, really solid person. So we took a lot out of that.
Yeah, how much can you learn from someone just bouncing ideas off them, motivate players and do that? Obviously, the NHL players are a little different than the NBA players, but how much do you get out of that? Just just
Yeah, well, I try and go in those situations by asking a lot more questions and keeping my ears open rather than speaking. And in that situation, I talked a lot about his championship season, how he handled Kawhi Leonard, what he thought of Kawhi Leonard, the challenges for his team this year, all that type of stuff. So I learned a lot, and I'm thankful that he was so gracious with his time.
Warren Fogle, he thinks he can be a more impactful player here this year. How much more, and we watched him last year, how much more of a player can we see this year, do you think?
Yeah, I think he can be. I think he can impact the team. I think it's fair to look at his numbers. His numbers were around his career highs. So you can impact, I like the word you use, impact. He can impact a game in different ways than just on the scoreboard. It's getting a stop on a forecheck. It is finishing a check. It is being in a shooting lane. It is being excellent along the walls. And this year we've kind of tasked him with a little bit of penalty kill responsibility, and this is the time to do that. I think Warren started out camp very well. I really liked his last game. He understands the battle that he's in. He does understand that. And we've said this right from day one that, this camp was set up to be competitive, that there were jobs here, and there were privileged ice time jobs available. And he's done a good job of trying to stake a claim.
Jay, I find it interesting you in talking to Nick Nurse about Kawhi Leonard, and it was famous that year with load management. So what did you learn about that? Are we going to see Connor McDavid?
Yeah, you know what? I learned a lot about it right from him, and he talked a lot about how professional and detail oriented Kawhi Leonard was, how he went about his day, and some of the things he needed. I learned a lot in that conversation, and I've always had a healthy respect for Kawhi Leonard as a player, going back to his days in college and then going back to his time in San Antonio, which I'm a big fan of that organization and the way they go about their business. So it was insightful for me, to say the least, to sit and talk with Nick about, how he handled him when he was there for that 1 year in Toronto.
So are there any parallels between having Connor and Leon here? And
well, I think the way he described Kawhi is very similar to how I would see Connor or Leon or Darnell or Zach Hyman, these type of top professionals, and the way they take care of themselves and what their needs are in order to perform at their very best. So it was very interesting.
I was kind of joking about Connor playing 65 games, but do you ever see load management? That's the term that they used, kind of working its way into hockey?
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with the term. I would say, there are theories regarding load management in hockey as pertains to pregame skates, as pertains to practices. I don't see it in, resting people for games and stuff like that. But, I think picking and choosing your spots. Last year was a good example when Dave and I came up from Bakersfield of, you had to pick your spots just based on the demands of the schedule.
Jay, you mentioned Tyler Benson's done a lot to get noticed. Jake Virtanen's on a PTO. Has he done enough to get noticed? Would you like to see more from him?
Yeah, I think Jake's had a good camp. He's in one of those roster battles, and it's incumbent upon him to have a good game. He's in the game tonight. Good, thanks, guys.